So, a very good morning to everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are excited to have you here for another session in our ongoing series of webinars, where we aim to familiarize all our Airport Authority of India employees about the new and interesting courses being offered by the Indian Aviation Academy. The topic for today's webinar is Introduction to Design Thinking. We will delve into the key aspects of this subject and explore why design thinking matters in civil aviation. What is design thinking? What are the five phases of design thinking? And what challenges can be solved with it? We are very fortunate today to have with us Mr. B. Senthilvel, sir, our General Manager Training at Indian Aviation Academy. Sir is a highly respected professional in aviation industry with extensive experience and expertise in training and development. His expertise in design thinking, combined with his deep understanding of aviation industry, makes him an ideal person to lead this session, and his insights today will undoubtedly offer tremendous value. Without further ado, I would like to pass the floor over to Sir to begin the session.
Thank you, Ishali. So once again, good morning to all of you for sparing your time and joining us for a very short introductory webinar on design thinking. So I am Senthilvel, GM training at Indian Aviation Academy. If you ask me whether I am a subject matter expert on design thinking, I won't say I am not a subject matter expert, but yes, I know the importance of this design thinking in our service industry, and I have undergone certain self education. Based on that, I have already utilized the benefit out of this design thinking knowledge and whatever the skills I gathered. The same thing I would like to share with all of you in the next 60 minutes introductory webinar. So how many of you have heard about design thinking? Can you share your in the chat? Have you heard about design thinking before? Yes, no, whatever is there, you can share your this thing. Those who are knowing, it's good. If you don't know also, nothing to worry. So today we are here only to explore why design thinking is closely connected to our history. So in this short webinar, the agenda I kept here is why design thinking matters in civil aviation. The next point is what is actually design thinking is all about. The next, we will briefly introduce what are the five phases of design thinking. Someone says voice is not there. Vaishali, how do you read?
Sir, you are audible.
Audible, na? Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So the five phases of design thinking we will introduce. Then we will see what are the challenges can be solved with the design thinking. So I have listed some few challenges. You can go through and you will be able to understand why design thinking is important for our day-to-day life in civil aviation. Then I made a simple one-page write-up that I will share in the end of the webinar to all your email so that you will be able to refresh what we discussed in this 60 minutes. Just a one-page write-up only I made. Those bullet points we will cover in the PPT. So now let us see why the design thinking matters to civil aviation. Let us take some hypothetical case. Mr. Ops and ABC airport. There was an airport. No, you can send it. Sorry for the disturbance. So let us assume that one ABC airport is one airport, one of our airport, where a newly recruited Mr. Ops has been posted at that particular airport. Once he went that airport, APD has given his brief because he is the first ever executive being posted from Ops. So APD is explaining him there are several complaints that he receives from airport. Number one, long security lines. Then confused travelers. Then missed flights. So there are so many complaints are coming, which is starting from the security lines, long security lines and allied issues. So what Naturally, Mr. Ops that he interacted with everybody. He had a meeting. Then somebody suggested we need to hire more security staff. Then somebody has suggested we need to upgrade the existing screening machines, X-ray machines. Then some people have told there should be strict boarding rules so that the people will be scattered and they will go to the security check instead of making a crowd at particular place. So these are the suggestions came out of the meeting. Now the question is that are they solving the right problem? That is our question comes into mind. Generally, what we do, we try to concentrate on the resources and the technology. That's what most of us we do. So now let us leave this problem here. Let us go to the design thinking principles. Then we will come back to the same problem, what Mr. Ops did by applying design thinking. Now, so design thinking is very important in our airport operation and air navigation services because we serve diverse target population. Every stakeholder has got unique demand from us. So we cannot make one a single solution that will fit for all. So we need to concentrate on the individuals. Whoever is our user, we need to see them in the center. We need to keep them in the center when we analyze the problem. So it's a user-centric way we have to do. So broadly, I have listed some of the uses that we have to take care is passengers, airlines, ATC, security, airport retailers, customs and immigration, and so on. I have listed some of the stakeholders. So what is the most important point in this particular point I want to tell is that design thinking helps address diverse user needs by placing them at the center of the problem. The next thing is why it is very important. Traditional problem, as I told, traditional problem solving approach focus on the technology and design thinking consider human behaviors. So because whenever you are having complex problem like this, that particular ABC airport problem, then we need to see human centric problem solution approach. So since we are operating in a highly complex environment, we need to be very efficient as well as we need to be user friendly as well. So for example, complex environment, you can say weather disruptions. We may have very good system, but weather disruptions can create a unknown situation. Passenger flow variability, some people will come, the international passengers will come. If you configure your airport facilities for the international customers, maybe some tier 2 city, our local countrymen, when they are flying, they may not be happy with that facilities that you offer. Their expectation may be different. And sometimes we will keep old technology as well as a new technology. We need to think about the people, those who handle those technology, not only thinking about the technology alone. So like this complexity, whenever it increases, we need to go for a human-centric problem solution approach. We should not fully depend on the technology centric. Then, once you apply design thinking in a systematic manner, naturally you will be doing innovation. So we need to do innovation in our country. We are having more than 2,000 young people in our company. We need to motivate and groom them for the design thinking and innovation. If we do like this over a period of time, we will have our own innovation much predominant way instead of depending on Europeans or American suppliers. So the global airports, if you see, they have done this, use the design thinking to drive innovation and improve efficiency. Mostly we take the output of this process instead of applying ourselves those process. It will take time for us to educate and implement this design thinking and innovative process in a systematic way across all the airports are in India. So for example, redesign of terminal layouts, security screening process, reducing wait times, improving operational efficiency. Many of the global airports have applied design thinking concept. You will come to know at the end of this presentation, design thinking means it is not something R&D. It is how you interact with the users right from the beginning of the problem. Then creating self-service kiosks for baggage check-in. See, if a few years back we never had these automatic baggage dropping machines, maybe some 7 8 years before we may not have. But now you see how many airports we have got these self-service kiosks for dropping the baggage. That reduces congestion at the check-in counter. Then we need to get the user passenger feedback for continuously redesigning our wayfinding and signage. The many airports they modify the wayfinding and signage systems in such a way, even you can say our Delhi airport, you see some wonderful informations are given when the passenger comes to the airport. It shows that the gate number 4 waiting time is this much, gate number 5 waiting time is this much. This was not there in the beginning. So once you give this information, what happens? The passenger will not crowd at the particular gate. They will try to move further, little bit more distance where the gate is very much less crowded. So this is that's what I wanted to tell. Design thinking is a strategic tool for solving real world problem. So we shall not avoid using this kind of concept. The next is what is design thinking itself. So design thinking is just a problem solving methodology focuses on understanding user needs. So we suppose we are finding a crowded security queue. So whatever the frustration come to the passengers, we need to interact with the passengers. Then start addressing the coming to the conclusion. The next is redefine the problem. This is very some examples I'll show you. You can correlate with the example which I have shown in the beginning, Mr. Option ABC Airport. How redefining the problem statement, it drastically change your solution finding process. That is very, very important. So the most of the problem solving method, if you define the problem properly, 50% of the solution you can easily make. Once you don't make the problem statement properly, definitely you will end up in some other direction where you may not find an innovative solution for the problem. The next is prototyping and testing that we will do in the design thinking. We will not make a major investment, major modification at a time. We will try to make some small scale testing, some prototype process. Then we will put it into operation. We'll get the feedback from the user. Then only we'll go for gradual upgradation of the system in the larger scale. So this way, what happens? It emphasizes the human-centric approach. So human-centric approach, I don't know how many of you are understanding human-centric approach. I give you a small example. I don't want to tell the name of the aircraft and the incident details, but you might have seen in the last 2 years, the 2 3 new aircrafts has fallen, lost control. It has not, pilots could not overrule that automation. They were not able to override the system, but system took on its own some decision and it has crashed. So this is not a human-centric approach. Suppose we have got a very big automation system, even though whatever it may be the automation we have given, ultimate control should be given to human, who is the end user, should be in a position to override that automation if that system misbehaves. So in that process, you always do modification or a modernization or automation at whether it is a security screening or it is in the air traffic control system. We need to keep this human-centric approach. Once you keep this human-centric approach, then your solution will be practically possible. So now you see there are certain concepts. See, this is a very introductory webinar. So I am just continuing my presentation without any interaction. But you please bear with me and you please follow the minimum things whatever I am listing here. The first one is the concept is user-centered approach that we have already discussed in detail. So it starts with understanding user, their needs, challenges, and experience. Suppose you wanted to evaluate the experience of the passengers of your facilitation in your airport. It is possible for you to understand only if you experience as a passenger. Otherwise, what will happen as a manager, you will view things in a different way. So it should be very much important. You should see the needs and challenges experience from the point of user. So user should be at the heart of any solution in your this thing. So for example, passenger flow optimization. If you want to do a passenger flow optimization in the airport, Definitely you should in touch with test. Then self-check-in kiosks, wayfinding solution, biometric boarding, baggage handling system, whatever you introduce in an innovative way, it should start with the user-centered approach. Next, once you think about the user-centered approach, next is collaboration, because you cannot implement a thing in alone. So next is collaborative approach. What is collaborative approach? You need to get the input from all the stakeholders, whomsoever you will be bringing into the picture for developing the innovative solution. So whether it is engineers, designers, management, end users, so the whole system, whoever is the stakeholder, you should involve. Then only you can go for the collaborative approach. So what it happens when you lead to when you go for a collaborative approach, the solution will be mostly acceptable by majority of the stakeholders. Otherwise, what will happen? You think in one small direction, you arrive at a solution. Once you want to implement, the remaining stakeholders will find more new issues. So you should be collaborative approach. So first it should start with the directly who is the user that is going to be benefited. The next you should involve collaboratively all the people. For example, airport expansion planning, runway optimization, digital transformation. So you should not suppose digital transformation. It is not that we will only interact with the IT experts. IT experts should be also involved, but at the same time, who are all going to be benefited, who are all going to use this system, who are all going to be uh, input data to the system, everyone should be involved in the beginning. Then next approach is prototype. Suppose you are going for a major modification of seating arrangements in a big airport. You should not do overnight. Instead, we need to encourage a small prototype testing. Then particular lounge you can put, then you should get the feedback, how they feel. In this way, what will happen? The risk management of the project is obviously taken care. Because if you do it in a major scale, very big investment, and you wanted to overnight everything you want to change, there will be a problem. Mostly we will be doing this. This, for example, I am telling of the seating arrangement. This can be taken into consideration for any of the application or projects that we do in AI. Major function what we do is airport development, operation, and air navigation services. All the three of these services are very important. Once AI aspires to become a world leading airport developer operator, then we need to adopt this design thinking in our day-to-day challenge, in the day-to-day challenges what we face. Say for example, security check. We need to do the pilot project before go for big investment. Smart gates. We can implement the smart gates at a particular place. Then we can go for the upgradation or implementation the major scale. So next step is, it is mainly this design thinking will make you to, in the process itself, you will be guided through the prioritized actionable points. Suppose there is a problem. Say for example, ABC airport. People have told you have to increase the number of staffs, you have to increase number of the XBs, or we have to upgrade the technology, or we have to change the boarding procedures. So these and all people are telling, but in this design thinking, you'll be able to prioritize, because you'll be doing certain process that will show you, to lead you or guide you to take a prioritized action, so that that prioritized action will solve maximum problem in the field. Say for example, you identify 10 solutions. There may be some 2 solutions which will address most of the problem. So those solutions should be implemented immediately. So in this process, what will happen? Whenever whatever you arrive, that will be practical and implementable. This is not the solution which are not very difficult to implement. So automated passport control, contactless payment in the airport shop, quiet airport initiative, whatever you do, if you do all these, say for example, quiet airport, we don't want to make any announcement. What will happen if the aged people, if they are coming without any assistance, how they will go? So like this, we need to think from all angle. Then once we make like this, some provision we make for the aged people, then the system will be implementable. Otherwise, it will give some kickback and it will give a problem. So once we discuss these 4 approaches, there are certain 5 phases of the design thinking. The first one is empathize. Empathize means we need to understand user needs. The next one is we need to define the right problem statement. I will give some example. And for this presentation or for my personal knowledge update, I referred one book written by Tim Brown. That book reference also I will give you here. If that book, if you read casually, if you read, you will understand many more things. And two books I will introduce here. Both the books you can read whenever you are free. And whenever you are handling a major challenge, every day we will face challenge. Nowadays the traffic is growing, situations are changing. So the challenges will be every day you will face. So I strongly suggest these two books you should read whenever you will find time, so that you will understand this at least in your level. When you are finding a challenge and you are addressing a certain issue, you can spend time, that you can effectively manage the situation. So that's as I earlier I told this, the defining the problem statement is the very important stage of any solution finding method. The next is, once you define the problem, then you need to generate different solutions. So naturally generating solutions is to do the brainstorming session. So accordingly you can make different type of solutions. So as I told, you should not disregard any solution, but you should keep on list all the solution. Then you have to understand the priority, which solution will create maximum impact in resolving the challenge that you are facing. Then prototyping already told. Then we go for the test. So test, main most important thing is that we do the test. Say for example, you are putting a test of automation system. Then if you are putting the system, automation system, that feedback you should not only see from the technical angle, but also from the operation angle and all other angles, maintenance angle, everywhere. So user means it's not that sometimes you feel that ATC is a user. Yes, ATC is a user for ultimately end user. But if you see just one layer behind, there may be some engineers who will be maintaining the system. They are also supposed to be the user for the system, because if they are not able to maintain the system, then the system will not have any, you cannot ensure safety. So you need to see all these angles. When it comes to facilitation, you should see the customer delightment, not just satisfaction. Then only you can validate your prototype testings. Now little bit, let us discuss little bit more on these spaces. So empathize. So picture I put intentionally one picture. It shows that you are connected with somebody emotionally. This is not that just user need means I want a clean toilet, I want a wonderful good lounges to sit. Not only that, if passengers are having any frustration, that also we need to understand. That's why we say we need to connect emotionally with the direct users. It can be anything. Overload of any particular our stakeholders, manpower, they are having a severe workload. Sometimes we need to understand their challenges, motivation, the pain points. So that quickly I will show you that example. When we revisit the ABC airport example, you will understand how Mr. Ops interacted with the passengers to identify their pain points. What will happen? That frustration only give you a negative impact. Nowadays, we have to compete with the private airport. So these kind of pain points, if we are not addressing, slowly, it will give a spiraling effect. Maybe sometime the passengers may not fly to our airport, but they will go to private airport, which is very nearby. Or some other means they are well connected to other airport, they will try to fly there. So for example, studying passengers experience at a security checks. So we need to understand whenever the crowd is more, the passengers are frustrated, then we should not hesitate to interact with them to find out the pain points with them. So either we can conduct surveys, interviews, identify passenger frustration. One small example I can tell, one small tips I can tell. Whenever I travel, I never show my AEP to anywhere. I follow the exact passenger route. Whatever they follow, I follow. I never go in the shortcut method or anything, because that is a very good experience point for you. So if you are moving with the passengers, you will easily understand how they appreciate. See, suppose I am departing from Bayal Airport, I am going to one of our airport. How passengers feel happy at Bayal Airport? What positive comments they give? What negative comments they give? If you are among with the passengers, you will get easily this experience. If you stop using AEP for showing any benefit in the terminal whenever you travel, that itself is a very big thing for one big experience points you'll get. So that is a way you have to do. If you are want to solve certain problem, you should play their role. Generally in management, they say no, the role play is very important. So when you want to solve the passenger's frustration, you should travel through them. Whatever the process they feel, you should go through them. Then you understand. So one example I tell you. One day I missed my watch in the security check. So I went back to CSF and I decided, as I told, I never saw my IEP or anything. I never claim I'm a employee. I just want to see how normal passengers, if they lose watch, how they will get. I experienced a wonderful experience from the CSF executive. I really got surprised. They are so good, so kind. Though they are very much accountable for the safety, there's so much customer service they give. They have very meticulous system to track that missed item, and they have so many timelines up to this much time where it should be, after this time where it should go. So when I went and said they are so much without irritating me, so friendly way they interacted and gave me watch back. So that what happens if you don't tell you are if you don't tell you are from AI, then only you can understand what common man will see. If you tell you are from airport authority, you are executive director, I am a joint general manager. These years of people may not know clearly our designation. Then they will think that you are some higher officer. Then they will behave differently. That is not required. You should go only as a passenger. Then you will understand that how a common passenger, if he misses some item, he goes back within 15 minutes, 20 minutes to the same security check gate, how he will get the experience. So that's what the small example I want to tell. See, prioritizing stakeholder, that's what I'm telling. This there is certain methodologies. See, there is some Pareto principles that says you need to address the 20% of the issues, which will solve the 80% of your problem. So suppose when we are talking about the security, this question again we will discuss. When we come back to the same ABC airport, I will show you that indirectly I am hinting the same solution during this presentation itself. Then we will again tell about this prioritize the stakeholder issues. Okay. Should the passenger be always on top? Who is our client? Only passengers are our client. So passengers are our VIPs. So naturally they should be at the top. But sometime some passengers may demand something which is impossible for you to provide. So we need to see the majority of the passengers what is happening. So once we revisit that same case in the end of the presentation, you will be able to appreciate how do we prioritize the passengers pain points. For example, I tell you, this is a suppose security check you take. CSF also one of the stakeholder, they are also having severe stress. So that's why I'm telling that empathize means we need to see their pain points not only as an administrative point of view. Suppose the CSF people duty case, how we are deploying them in a duty, how they are doing the duties. If they are getting frustrated, they are going to delay it, or they are going to miss some very vital information. So we need to see all those angles. But in the particular case, in the airport terminal operation or whatever we do, if you see everything is centered around passengers only. So we need to take care of the passengers on the top. Observe passenger behavior at the security points. Say for example, this example I am telling, check conduct surveys, then observe passenger behavior at security points. So if you see some people are frustrated, some people are in the anxious too much, they are moving here and there. You can see some of the foreign airports are worst actually. I have seen people sit in the floor, open the bag and put it in the bin and they wait for 20, 30 minutes for putting in the bins in the security trolley, that tray. So if in India, I have never seen such cases, but I have seen surprisingly some African countries, people will sit in the floor literally because they cannot stand so much of time. They will sit in the floor, they open the baggage, put it everything in the bag and no visual indications are there, what they have to remove, what they have to put. So that there'll be again the same person will come 2-3 times to the queue. So like this and all it will happen. Now next step, once we are understanding this, defining the problem. Right problem statement. This is what I'm saying. If you make a first statement wrong, then you are diverted to some other place. You are finding solution, but that is not going to serve the purpose of your ultimate solution finding. So instead of surface level issues, design thinking will make you to understand the root cause of the issue. So for example, all of you may have a attended SMS training, and even you may be knowing this Swiss cheese model, all these things. What it says, the end result only you should not see. What made this result, that we have to see. For example, some aged person is coming in a terminal. That terminal is being some area is wet. Suddenly rain came, some leakage came, some wet thing has happened. What happens? Aged person to skid and fall is priority where probability is high. Now again the surface has become wet. Then the probability of that aged person to skid and fall is much more higher now. So what you have to do, you have to put some display. Be caution, be cautious. This floor is wet. This floor is under maintenance. What will happen when you put like this? That the aged people also will get some notice. Yes, this place is not suitable for us. We need to be careful. So like this, the root cause of their people to get skidded will be age. But you cannot control the age. But the wet surface, it is in your control. If you are not controlling that particular issue, naturally many people may skid and fall. This is just a layman example I am giving. So like this, every problem we need to understand clearly the root cause of the issue. So shift a symptom to core issues. Right problem statement guides better solution. I listed some one or two examples for this because in the 60 minutes we cannot discuss too much. So for example, refine a vague airport problem statement into a clear statement. For example, you see airport restrooms are always crowded. Say for example, you are an executive, you are going to take a decision. Some of your subordinates coming and telling the problem statement as airport restrooms are always crowded. Then this is not very clear. So now, for example, okay, you take a decision, okay, we'll add more restrooms. You have made it. Assume that you have made number of restrooms you increased in the every gate or wherever it is available. Now still you will find crowded. There will be airport restrooms will be crowded. Why? Because the statement should be like this. Restrooms are insufficient near high traffic gates. There may be some gates that may not be used strategically. You may not use those gates, but some gates you may use strategically more. Then our big aircrafts are connected there. So what happens? These should be assessed. So the statement just you rephrase like this, then it will give different way of solution. So you will concentrate on the highly whichever is high in demand. Then you will start process more detail in this angle. Then you will get the data clearly to address this issue. So in this, what you are doing, only by defining the statement, redefining, you are prioritizing. So prioritizing what you are prioritizing? You are prioritizing the restroom facilities at the highly used gates or highly volume traffic based gates. So second example, wayfinding is confusing. So signage doesn't match the passenger expectations and clarity. Suppose some passengers are in any given time, there will be new passengers. These new passengers may be very less in percentage. But imagine a national highway. Every vehicle goes in a very fast, at defined speed it is going. Imagine some 4 or 5 fellows are going very slow in the same national highway because of their skills and competency difference. What will happen? Naturally, the traffic cannot be as much as capacity that national highway is built. So we need to see that every type of passengers, how they easily get guided by the signage. So this is very important. So wayfinding is confusing is a misguiding you. Wayfinding is confusing for whom? That is to be understandable. That's why the problem statement when you redefine, this is the most important stage. If you see the top management, they are very much interested on this problem statement only because they are very accustomed and they take a decision based on problem statement and the solution we make it. So if you make the problem statement wrong, then your entire effort put on the solution finding will also be wrong. So in the end, when you invest money and implement the solution, definitely it will not be widely acceptable by everybody. So next, idea generation.